Hi, Michelle here with the Traveling Epicurean. Today it's all about Bolognese recipe to match a dish that I had in Urbino, Italy, where I went to school for 8 months. It's this beautiful little Renaissance town where Raffaella was born. And this dish is so heavenly. It's made with veal and pork. Your kitchen fills with aromas of rosemary, red wine, and tomato. You're gonna love it, and I'm so happy to share it with you here today. Okay, so to start this wonderful bolognese, I have a pound of ground veal, a pound of ground pork, about a third a cup of grated carrots, 3 tablespoons or a quarter cup of the grated celery, and a cup of chopped or grated onion, and then of course my 2 large garlic cloves, whole peeled tomatoes, my red wine, my heavy cream, and my rosemary. Okay, so I've been heating up 3 tablespoons of olive oil on a medium heat. I just added in my garlic, my onion, celery, and carrots. And then I'm just gonna start to saute this for about 10 minutes on medium low until it's all softened and slightly golden. And then we're gonna puree it with the tomatoes. This is looking beautiful. It's been sauteing for a few minutes. In Louisiana, they use a lot of this combination, the celery, the carrots, the onion. They call it the Trinity. And it's very flavorful, and it's going to make some great layered flavors in our bolognese. So here we go with the layered flavors. We're going to deglaze with a quarter cup of red wine. And we're just going to mix that around a little bit. Let that evaporate. I like to keep the garlic cloves in the middle. This way they just get softened. If I were to put them through the garlic press, I'm afraid they would burn, and you don't want burnt garlic because it gets a little bit bitter. And then I'm going to add a little bit of salt, our first layer of flavor. Now I'm going to put these sauteed veggies in the food processor with the whole peeled tomatoes. I'm like a sauce gal, okay? Oh my god!
Like something like that. Like something. Sauce girl. Like
sauce girl, I know.
It's something like that because like.
Okay, quiet now on the set.
Too quiet.
I am a sauce gal. I love making sauces. It's one of my favorite things to do cooking, and building layers of flavors by sauteing the vegetables and then pureeing them with our tomatoes. It's going to make it a really, really nice sauce. Get these beautifully sauteed vegetables right into the food processor, and then we're going to puree those with the whole peeled tomatoes. 2 cups of whole peeled tomatoes. So I'm gonna get my top on, and I'm gonna puree this till it's nice and smooth. Beautifully pureed vegetables with the tomatoes. That looks so pretty. It's gonna be delicious. And I got 3 tablespoons of olive oil for our veal and our pork. We're only gonna do a pound at a time. You don't want to put 2 pounds in there. It's a medium hot. So I'm just going to stir it around. You really want this on a medium-high heat. Nothing worse than all the juices rendering out of the meat and having it boil. You can't build flavors by boiling meat when you're making a bolognese. You have to caramelize the meat. We'll take this batch out, put it aside, and then we're going to finish, with the other pound right there. And then when that's all done, we'll add back in our lovely sauteed and pureed vegetables here. The juices are going to render out of that meat, and you're going to see it get a little bit loose there. But just give it a little bit of time, and it'll start to reduce down, and then it'll start to caramelize again. It's just because it's cooking. So you definitely want it on medium-high. You could even have it closer to high. So do we see that pretty color in there? It's getting caramelized. The meat is adding flavor to the dish. As you can see that. See the brown? That's what we want. We don't want it boiled, we want it caramelized. More flavor into the dish. It's a little hard to see with all the steam there. So it was sauteing for about 5 minutes. All the juices rendered out of it. And boy, the browning starts really quickly after the 5 minutes. So you want to give it a couple of stirs. It looks really beautiful now. See all the beautiful brown caramelization. And then we'll add in the wine. I took it off the stove so it would stop smoking there, so you could see how pretty it is. The colors are gorgeous. And I'm going to put it back on the stove and let that red wine evaporate a little bit. And then it takes off all those little caramelized bits, which are really delicious, good flavor. Whew. It smells so good. We're just going to deglaze some of that steam in there so you can see what's going on in here. And then I'm going to take this lovely meat and I'm going to put it in the bowl here. And then we're going to finish with our second pound of veal and pork. So I added in another 3 tablespoons of olive oil. I'm going to let that come back up to temperature because we want to hear a sear when we put that meat, when we put the veal and the pork in the pan. Medium-high heat. And it's starting to sizzle. See the little bubbles in there? And it's about ready. So I'm going to add the rest of the meat here. We'll break that up a little bit. That's a great sound. That means we're going to be browning and developing flavor and caramelizing the meat. So we'll let that get going. We have our other lovely brown meat right here, and we're going to add this pan to it. And then we'll put everything back in the pot and let it simmer for a little while. So we're sauteing 2 pieces of bacon. And we'll finally chop that up, and then that's going to go in our pan. This really gives a little bit of extra added flavor, a layer of flavor in there as well. I'm doing it in a separate pan so we don't get all that bacon fat. And in the other pound of sauteed meats, I'm going to add a teaspoon of salt. I'm going to add in our beautiful pureed vegetables. And then I'm going to add in a ½ cup of veal stock. You can find veal stock in the frozen section at like Whole Foods. If you can't find veal stock, use chicken stock. And then we're going to bring this to a simmer. So I don't really like that meat to be a really thick, coarse bolognese. I like it to be finer, so if I see some clumps, I'm just going to break it up a little bit with a fork. That's all, just so it's a finer sauce and not a thick, bulky sauce. I want it to be a delicate sauce, so I don't want big chunks of meat. It only takes a couple seconds to break up the meat like that. So I add rosemary at 2 stages, one in the beginning stage. I'm going to add a teaspoon of rosemary then. I'm going to add a teaspoon of rosemary right now, and then also the 3 tablespoons of bacon that I sauteed. I finally chopped that bacon and the rosemary. And then I'm just going to mix it in. And wow, that rosemary, just that little rosemary in there, and it smells so good. And the bacon is kind of like a underlying hidden flavor that people will never be able to figure out. So the last 2 things I'm going to add in before it simmers for an hour and a half is 1/4 cup of red wine and 1/8 teaspoon of pepper, fine pepper. You could always adjust the salt and pepper like I said at the end. So I've been simmering the bolognese for an hour and a half. It's been slightly covered. I left a little bit open so the steam can get out, and I'm stirring every 15 minutes, but then you'll see how the water just drips off of there. Make sure you let that drip off of there and not in the pot. And look how amazing that is. It's so beautiful, and it smells incredible. I'm going to add some heavy cream and some more fresh rosemary to it. And then I'm gonna put it in my Le Creuset pot. I have this very big baking dish. I'm gonna cook up some gnocchi, and I'm gonna add the gnocchi to that sauce. So I'm going to a Christmas party tonight, and I'm gonna bring these gnocchis over with me. I'm gonna add some heavy cream to this. I'm gonna add some more fresh rosemary, about a tablespoon, and another 1/4 cup of red wine. I'm gonna give that a stir. It really doesn't need to cook anymore, just needs to warm through. So in total here, I've added 2 cups of heavy cream, a 1/2 cup of red wine, and a tablespoon of very finely chopped rosemary to the end, which is another layer of flavors. And you see how light it's
finish the sauce by grating some of my favorite Reggiano in there, and then that will complete it.
So I have my boiling water, my lovely bolognese that we just made, and then I'm going to add the gnocchis. And when they float to the top, we're going to put them in our sauce. So my gnocchis have started to float to the top, so I'm going to take them out and just put them right into the sauce here. These are the frozen gnocchis. Look how nicely they all float up like that. Absolutely beautiful. And I'm just going to keep scooping them out until I have the right amount in there. So you have to do these in batches, especially when they're frozen. Just 3, I do like 2.5, 3 handfuls at a time. You give a swirl because you don't want them to stick to the bottom. And they're frozen, so they're going to take maybe 15 to 20 more seconds to float up to the top. And look at all these gnocchis we have in here. And I'm just going to start gently covering them with the bolognese sauce. So I'm even going to just shimmy it back and forth. You don't want to stir these gnocchis because they're very delicate, and you don't want them to fall apart by over stirring them. Give them one little look at this bolognese. It is absolutely heavenly. I cooked up all those gnocchis, put them right in the sauce. I'm gonna heat this up right before I go to my Christmas party tonight for about 25 minutes, 20-25 minutes on 350. And this Le Creuset pot is wonderful. It's gonna stay hot for a while. So when I bring it over, it'll be nice because they can put it right on the table. So I'm gonna plate some up, and then I'm gonna add some Reggiano, and of course, our truffle oil. This amazing truffle oil on top of this. How decadent is that gonna be?
When I first had this bolognese, it was with a pasta called strozzopreti, and it's like this little pasta that they roll between their hands and then they cut up into 2-inch lengths, and it was absolutely delicious. I found this pasta at our local specialty shop, our cheese shop in Old Saybrook, Fromage. They had it with all their other dried fresh pastas. I was so excited when I saw that. So if you're going to look for that special pasta, strozzopreti, to make with this bolognese sauce, you'll be having the original dish that I had in Urbino.
Here's our plate of gnocchis. I am going to grate some Reggiano cheese on there. And then our truffle oil. And then the best part, I get to eat it. So here's our beautiful plate of gnocchis. I just grated some Reggiano on there. You only need a few drops when you have good truffle oil. Really beautiful. This bolognese is a dish like you've never had before. I really want you to make this recipe and let me know what you think about it. And here's the bolognese, plated up with some fresh pasta.
So this is the best part, sampling the bolognese. Really, really good. It's a very unique bolognese. If you want the heavy cream, you could go with a coconut cream, and that would be really delicious as well. Thank you for being here with me today. I'm really excited for you to try this recipe. Ciao!